Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Real Talk session, the second session we've had of Real Talk with your advisors. I'm the high school academic advisor, Ms. Clem, at Virginia Virtual Academy, and today I have a very special guest, a rock star learning coach that has been with VAVA for a few years now, Miss Carrie Larson, and we thank you for joining us today. She's not only a Rockstar Learning Coach, but she is also the Blended Opportunity Manager for VAVA, and she does some wonderful things in our VAVA community. And we just thank you, Carrie, for taking your time today. Our main discussion today is going to be transitioning to online learning from the learning coach perspective. And that's why we've asked Carrie to join us today. She has a ton of experience with her own children and with VAVA students. So we're gonna jump right into this. Learning coaches that are watching, you may wanna grab a notepad if you take notes old school or on your phone. A lot of nuggets of wisdom are coming your way that we really want you to grasp onto as you start this journey of online learning. You know, it is, especially if this is your first year with VAVA, it is a huge transition. You know, you may be used to in the brick and mortar or traditional public school, you may be used to you know, if your student was doing well, not being all that super involved in the high school environment, but transitioning to online learning and schooling at home, you know, is hands-on. And we want to make sure that that transition and this journey gets started off on the right foot for you and your students. So ears on, let's put away those distractions and get out those notebooks, and we're gonna let Carrie take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me. From our VAVA family to yours, welcome to our Virginia Virtual Academy. We're super excited. It has certainly been a gift and blessing in my family's life. The year 2020-21 will be our 10th year here at home, and so it's definitely been a gift, and if I can help make that a gift for our other VAVA families, consider me game. So looking forward to supporting our families in any way that I can.
Wonderful. So I see on this slide, you have the VAVA Cares website. Do you want to talk about that for families?
Yeah, so we created the VAVA Cares website to be a website exclusive to our VAVA families. So if you get an email from me, from Miss Carrie, if you ever hear that name, Miss Carrie, that's who I am. It's always at the bottom of my email, so you can always access our VAVA Cares website. It's a great testimonial and way to visualize our stellar school year together, everything that we've been doing as a school community, our school spirit, our VAVA Cares website kind of showcases that and highlights that for our students and our families. It's kind of like a virtual yearbook, and it's designed to be a year-long school kind of website that showcases our stellar school year together. So every year we'll have a new link for a new VAVA Cares website that will kind of bring you to that new school year to look forward to. And then, as I say, just be able to go and check out what we've been doing together as a cool school community.
Awesome. I also know there is a Facebook page for VAVA as well. It's an official Facebook page where you can, you know, get fun information or just information for the school year. I know there are some learning coach groups out there in Facebook land. I'll let you speak to that, Carrie, because I think you probably have the most experience since you are in the learning coach groups. If you just want to kind of shortly speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our VAVA's Facebook page is open to social media at large. You will see a lot of VAVA specific information, K-12 information. We don't typically post our events or anything that's exclusive to our school just because it is open to everybody.
Right.
We do have some learning coaches that banded together and created their own Facebook page. The only thing I would share about that, because it is a great resource to make those connections, is it's not staff supported. So, I mean, if you're asking questions, you're going to get other learning coaches' opinions on not always the best information. I am hoping to have a special group on our VAVA Cares or our VAVA Facebook page that would be for our best community.
Mm-hmm.
So that any family that wants to join would be able to go and be able to see on our Facebook page everything that we're doing, you know, as far as highlights and things like that, our events, and they could go and check that out. And it would be a way to have something on our Facebook page that would be exclusive to our membership. So only our members would be able to log into that particular group to see what's going on specifically for us. And I'd like to have in there even like an ask Miss Carrie, or, you know, kind of like your ask Dear Abby kind of, you know, so like if you've got specific questions that you want to know about our school and that you'd like to get the staff support and the best answer from the school perspective, we'd be able to provide that for our families as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, that'd be a great resource. And always too, bringing up the subject of questions, you're going to have a ton of questions when you start. It's Questionville for at least a month or two. So at VAVA, you will have a homeroom teacher or an academic advisor, and that's the role that I play. And we are the first point of contact for families. We will make welcome calls. We try to reach every student before school starts every year. So just know if you have any questions or how, you know, to get to all of these resources that Carrie is going to put out for families, you know, we can direct you to how to get a hold of teachers, or, you know, how to navigate the OMHS. Like, all questions you can, you know, bring through your advisor as your main point of contact, and then we can, you know, put you in touch with who you need to get in touch with. So do not be scared to reach out and to, you know, ask those questions, because it is a big journey to start, so you will need help. And there's a ton of resources, and Carrie and her team have done a great job with putting all these out for families. It's really fun, all the things that they do throughout the year. So we're gonna kind of just jump into, I guess, learning coach perspective. And, you know, at VAVA, we call it learning coach, which I think is a cool name. You know, you don't hear parent or guardian. Everybody's a learning coach, and Carrie has a great perspective, teacher versus cheerleader. And I'll let you jump into that, because I think it's a great way to look at it.
Absolutely. So too often, I think we kind of put added pressure on ourselves as parents. We think we have to be the teacher and we have to teach everything to our students. When we get the curriculum, we look at it and we think, oh my goodness, how am I going to cover all of this? I know personally, I did not go to school to be able to learn to break down the different subjects for different grade levels for students with different learning styles and processing information differently. I mean, I had 3 kids in the program, and I can tell you they all learned very differently. So I took personal comfort in knowing that I had a team of professionals that literally had my back. I do not have to be the teacher. I'm not there to step into that role. I am there more or less as a facilitator. The coach is a great way to describe our role as the learning coach. I mean, we're here to coach our students and train them for their success. I think of it as a cheerleader mentality, just because I'm here to make sure that they're motivated, that they're inspired, and they're making the most of their opportunities, and they're staying on task with their checklists and getting their things done. I mean, imagine if you were going to exercise, and if you put yourself in that kind of a goal by yourself, you're not going to be as motivated if you had someone that was willing to walk with you, take you to the gym, maybe get on the treadmill next to you, you know, when you needed that extra encouragement, cheer you on and inspire you and you know, celebrate your victories every step of the way. That's kind of how I see my role as a learning coach. I'm there to keep my student engaged and echo what's going on in the Virginia Virtual Academy side of things. So think of it as making that bridge so that you've got that professional and you've got that parent at home that are tag teaming together to ensure that our student has the best quality educational experience.
Yeah, I love that analogy because I hate to work out alone. I love to work out in a group, and I love to have a coach because, like you said, it just keeps you engaged. It keeps you, when you're working out with someone or, in a group, you are more engaged. You will work out harder. Like, that's so true. You won't quit as easy. So that's a perfect, like example. Yeah, a lot of families that I've worked with that, VAVA last year, the transition is very difficult, and you may not have been as hands-on as when your student was in the traditional brick and mortar. But you are that, like you just said, that bridge and the tag team partner with the teacher. So you're the one facilitating at home, making sure things are staying on track, doing those daily check-ins. And if that student, does start to struggle, getting even more involved and reaching out for help. But I love the point that you are not the teacher. So many, parents come into this, or I've heard them say, well, I just don't know, I can't teach them math. But that's not your job. Your job is to coach them and, rely, like you said, on the professionals to do the teaching. That is, one of the scariest parts, I think, is, trying to, number one, you're trying to figure out a good schedule for the family life too. I think that has to take priority, and that needs to come from, the learning coach down. That needs to be the expectation set by the learning coach. What is your daily school schedule? And I know you guys, you'll get into this in a little bit too, in the building the independence part, but I won't jump ahead. But that's one of the biggest things that I see, parents think they can just, hey, here's the computer, go do your schoolwork. But that is not the right mentality. Like you said, you're the facilitator, you're the cheerleader, you're the coach, you're the one making sure things get accomplished. And, even in 10th and 11th grade, 12th grade, high school students, they need that oversight, really, to make sure that things are happening. So
They also need the support of the entire family. I mean, it's not just
yeah.
mom at home with the student. The student needs to be on board with the commitment that a program like this is going to take. Both parents need to, share that commitment, even if it's where you have to set up a schedule. So like if dad comes home in the evenings, there are things that he can do to help, whether it's with childcare to ensure that things get wrapped up for the day, or like in my case, there were certain subjects that my husband was stronger at than I was. And so he might be the best resource for the kids to go to ask for questions if they need some additional follow-up or practice and review. Sometimes he would explain things in a way that I would never think to explain it. And so again, just being able to do that as a family affair, it just, you learn so much about your children. And I can say that honestly. I mean, I have learned so much about my children and how they process information, what their personal strengths are, even what their weaknesses were, any gaps that they might have had in their educational foundation. And again, it's a great opportunity to go in and fill those in for your family, to balance out those goals that you might have as a family. And when you're sitting down as a family to discuss this kind of a program, lay that all out there, put that out there for everybody, kind of think about what it is that you want to accomplish, how you can work for your free time so you can have your afternoons or your open time to be able to do those other family goals, and make that part of your school experience.
That's so true. Yeah, it is a family effort all the way around. Even if you have other students that might still go to traditional brick and mortar, like having the family on one page, on the same goal and all working, together, very much a big deal for success. That's so true. So let's talk about data tracking in the system. I'll let you start with that
one.
One
of my favorite things to think about because
you start with that, then I'll add advisor point of view there. Yeah.
Because this is my 4th year with the Virginia Virtual Academy. In the first 3 years, I spent a lot of time, supporting individual families and doing support series for our families at large, and just trying to give them that extra edge. And being both now a parent and a professional in the program, I have seen both sides of that Learning Coach account and our students' accounts, working directly with our accounts. And I have such a sincere appreciation for the amount of documentation and data that goes into creating our students' account and profile and their educational records. And my job initially was kind of like, think of me as a friendly accountant on this side of the program. I'm trying to make sure that your account looks great for our district partners and their annual review process. So much does get tracked in the online program. I know I have a lot of families that are always worried that they can somehow mess it up, and you really can't. But there are things that can create flags, and any good accountant is going to look at your account and look for those things that might cause flags. So keep in mind that everything is time-stamped in the online school. So if you're doing work in the late hours of the evening or very, very early in the morning, it's time-stamped. If you're going in and marking a lot of things complete and you're doing it back to back, the amount of time that you spent doing that is also being tracked. So again, if you have staff that are reaching out to you specifically to address those flags, it's because they want to make sure that your account looks great. There isn't any reason for it to be audited by any stretch of the imagination. And also there's no way to cheat the system. So again, everything is being tracked. And as a parent, I love knowing that it's all out there, it's being tracked for me. And so I don't ever have to worry about whether or not I'm gambling with my students' education, or if I'm not going to be able to produce records for my state, or that they're not going to be on par with their grade level. That program is a blessing, and it tracks everything that we would ever need. And so if you learn to work within those parameters, it will definitely be your best tool.
Yeah, one thing I do want to say, when you hear, you're going to hear, may have already heard a lot of the terminology, OLS, which is online school, or OMHS, that's online middle high school. That's just a term for our learning platform. You might also hear it called D2L. So many names out there, but it's just the learning platform. That's all it is. And we just say OMHS for short, or OLS. But
I like our acronyms.
There's TVS, which is, Total View School. There's so many acronyms you're going to learn. But don't be scared of the acronyms. You'll get the hang of it. That's just, the data tracking is amazing. It tracks, when students, their login history. It tracks how long they spent on a certain assignment. It tracks, when they logged into courses, how many days it's been since they've logged into the course. It also tracks when learning coaches, log in. Of course, learning coaches should be logging in every day for their attendance. You will be tracking attendance every day.
It's our most important role as a learning coach. Is if we don't put in that attendance, it does not get tracked.
Right.
Something to think about, even our Class Connect attendance. While teachers are tracking whether or not a student attended the session, they don't put in attendance time for the student attending that session. We as the learning coaches have to put in the attendance. So every time they complete a lesson, we need to make sure that we're putting in that default attendance that we're allowed to put in there for our students. We also have supplemental activities that we put on a regular basis to build up that cushion that we need for the 990 hours that are required. And then that Class Connect attendance, you would put that under their course. So if they're taking a math Class Connect, you would put that time that they spent in their class under their math course, and make sure that you're tracking that Class Connect attendance as well. So again, as the learning coach, our number one job is to put in that attendance. We're the ones that create that record for our students.
Yes, and doing that accurately is very important. And I'm glad you mentioned about the 990 hours. So that way, learning coaches know, it's the same expectation as brick and mortar public school.
Yeah, and just keep in mind that if you do get behind putting in attendance, think about how things might look on our accounting side of things. You know, don't go crazy and start putting in more than 13 hours of attendance, of that default attendance, because no student's going to be spending more than 13 hours in school. And they get credit for that default time even if they finish early. So you still put in that full default time even if they finish early, but you don't want to be going in putting in too much attendance. If you find that you've been, you know, that you have a lot of attendance to put in, reach out to the advisors so that they can help you with that. They can put a note on the account. They can explain that so that we don't get that flag. And also they can go in and mark things and put that in there for you, or use the weekends, because attendance is not tracked typically on the weekend, only on the school days, Monday through Friday. So if you need to put anything in, feel free to add it in on those freebie days, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Balance and stretch it out. You know, I always say share the wealth, you know, so that you're not putting it all in on one day.
That's true. Good point. From the advisor side of things and, you know, administration and teachers, we do have, you know, reports that we track. We track weekly grades. I get a report every Monday that tells me the current grade in, you know, the OMHS for each class for a student. So if a student starts to struggle, you know, is failing in class, then that is the biggest part of my job, is reaching out to families and struggling students and try to help them get back on track. So we track grades heavily. Teachers have their own tracking reports as well in each course. CC attendance, CC is just Class Connect attendance, which Carrie talked about. We actually, the advisors get that data too. We can see when a student logs into a Class Connect, when they log out, how many minutes they spent in each Class Connect. So if I, you know, pull my grades report and I see a student is failing a class, you know, the first thing I start looking at is, okay, are they attending the live sessions with the teacher, the live Class Connect sessions with the teacher? You know, if that attendance is not there, or, you know, like they log in for 10 minutes, then they log out, you know, that's a red flag to me, because that shows me they're not getting that instruction time with their teacher and their peers, which is so valuable, because, you know, that's their time, you know, just like in a classroom in traditional school. Also, you know, with Class Connect, a teacher may assign a student to go to a small help group, and maybe show up on their Class Connect attendance schedule as extra help or small group. You know, if they're failing a class, they need to be going to these small groups and these extra help sessions, or it may be called remediation sessions as well. It can have several different names depending, you know, what the teacher names it. But if a student is struggling, they need to attend those, and we can also see if they're attending their small group help as well. So, you know, when a student or family contacts me or I contact them, you know, that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Are you going to that small group help with your teacher to get that extra one-on-one? So, you know, just know that those things, you know, we have, like you said, the blessing of all the data these days that can help us, you know, pinpoint what the struggle and what the pain point might be, so that we can help families, you know, get back on track and support, you know, the learning coach, because they need to know you know, they're not sitting there over the shoulder of the student, you know, all day long. So it is helpful with the system tracking to, you know, see what kind of is actually being done. And it is a very, very big help to me, you know, so I can go in with the family and start at ground zero and try to, you know, help the student get back on track. So lots of data. We love data.
Just another thought about the Class Connect. So, I mean, it really is our best gift as learning coaches to ensure that our students go to their Class Connects. Not only is it a program requirement and expectation, but that's where they're going to have their time with their teachers. So if I don't want that pressure or that personal pressure, feeling like I have to teach everything and I want to be able to rely on the experts, I certainly don't want to take that time away. Typically their Class Connect schedule is posted and you'll know what it is so you can work appointments around it. If you do need to miss a Class Connect, you just would reach out to your content teacher for that Class Connect, let them know so that they can work with you to get your student to be able to view the recording and get full credit for it. You don't want to miss it because, you know, I like to tell families the K-12 curriculum is a national program and it's not designed for any standardized test in particular. And because our students are required with our district partners to take the SOLs here in Virginia, our curriculum needs to be supplemented. There are things, objectives, concepts that are not covered specifically for the SOLs in their curriculum, and they receive that support and that chance to practice and review their SOL objectives in their Class Connect sessions. So the last thing you want to do is, take that advantage away from them to be able to, balance out and round out their education. As a parent, I love knowing that my children are not just getting taught for the test, and that they get more in their education than just what's going to be on those SOLs. But at the same time, since I know that they're going to be taking those SOLs, I want to make sure that they're going to get that specific information and the chance to review and ask questions with their teachers directly so that they've got that every advantage when the spring SOLs come around. So again, Class Connects are very, very important. And if you've got to give away someplace, you have to take time away. You always want to make sure that you put that time back in, but if you have to take it away, try not to take it away from those live Class Connect sessions with your teachers.
Yes, that's so important. And, as the flexibility is nice, it can also kind of be a two-edged sword at times. You can't let it be too flexible, where you got to have, that pretty good framework structure of, this is our discipline time that we do schoolwork, and try not to, mess with the Class Connect schedule. That's so good, which kind of leads into that building that schedule and building the independence. So if you kind of want to open with that, I know you have a lot to say because you've done it so graciously now for 3 students that have been very successful with our program. So
yeah, I had to learn personally to find that inner balance because we had 3 kids in the program. We started off with one student in VAVA, and I started out that school year with 3 different kids in 3 different schools on 3 different schedules, and I do not recommend that. So if you've got an opportunity to bring your kids home and keep them in that same schedule and schooling option. And even if you're a little intimidated by having multiple students in the program, there is so much more support and hands-on, and to be able to balance that out as a team, I would certainly encourage you to simplify your life where you can. But I learned quickly that it was important for my students to get time with me. And what that meant was we would have our together time. So we would be all together working on something. It could be on different levels because all the kids were at different grades and working on different material at the same time. But we definitely wanted to make that family spirit kind of come out to play and keep our school kind of spirit strong. So we did have like our together time, and we often did some basic review. Just for our own benefit, just because, they may be working on one particular concept in math, but I don't want them to forget all math, and I don't want them to not, practice their math facts. So, we would do some of those basics.
Yeah.
But then you're going to find that your students will need some one-on-one time with you, and it might be different for each of your students. You just want to sit down and kind of figure out what of their courses in particular they would like some extra help from you. And then you would kind of schedule that as your one-on-one time with them, and then encourage any of their students that you have at home to treat that as independent time. And there's lots of things that they can do independently, but you also want to make sure that you as a learning coach are always available for those check-ins, because if you're not checking in on them, don't assume and trust that they're doing everything that they need to be doing. I've learned the hard way with my youngest in particular, that if I wasn't staying on top of him, he would try to find ways to cheat the system, and it would always come back to hurt us more than it would help us. So again, you just want to make sure that you can check on and use like an incentives and a rewards to track things. I put that sheet up there. That's what we called our daily 8. I always encourage my kiddos to try to get 8 things done at least each day. Anything over 8 was great and would count as bonus. So we tried to have our bonus days. We also tried to have a family goal where we would get Monday through Friday's lessons completed by Thursday so that we could have Friday as our family day, and then we would kind of decide what we wanted to do on Friday. And because I had 3 in the program, it was always nice to have a little bit of sibling competition. So whoever got their work done first and maybe had the best scores for the week, they would get to decide what we were going to do on Friday. So things like that. It's an easy thing for them to track. As a learning coach, it was easy for me to go in and I could just use that as a great sheet to kind of compare with the attendance. So I would know what I had to put in for attendance each week for each of them. And of course, there were some occasions where someone would have to work on Friday while the rest of us weren't. Again, you put out those incentives, but you also have to balance them sometimes with those consequences, and remind that our students that their choices do matter. And I guarantee you that once or twice of not being able to participate, and usually you'll find a good motivator moving forward. So again, it's just a way to train us as a family and my students to be more independent, because they can fill out that sheet for me. And then they're tracking, they can see at a glance, did I get 8 things done? No, I still need to get 2 things done. Well, we would consider that that's part of our homework for the day. We want to make sure we get our 8 things done. And by doing 8, we were always ahead. And that gave us an opportunity to build up a time for cushion. So if we needed time to review, if we needed time to go over things, if things were going to take a little bit longer for us to grasp that concept, we had that cushion and that time available to us so that we didn't feel like we were ever rushing. As a learning coach, I can tell you that the teachers do an amazing job of laying everything out for our students as far as a good, steady pace. And you'll find that sometimes your students will be faster, and sometimes they might need that, that cushion that's built into it for that extra time. So if you just follow that basic pace that's already there, then you as a learning coach can figure out what your student like. I mean, are they going to be faster at this pace? Are they going to need a little more time? And factor that in as you're going with your schedule.
Yeah, they may need more time in math, versus history, depending on what their, weaknesses and strengths are. And so I was going to ask you, when you did your daily 8 check, was that like in the evenings, or what time of day would you normally do that check-in with the student?
So I would get the daily 8 sheets in the afternoon, because before we could end for the day, I needed to have that completed. And so, again, we would do, a celebration that we got all of our things done. We would celebrate along the way. As a learning coach, all I can say is, spread that good cheer, celebrate everything. We would do victory jigs around the kitchen table when we mastered things. We would do high fives. We would go for walks, to practice our spelling words, shake things up and have fun. If you've got a little one like mine was, that attention span might be a concern. I would have multiple stations set up around the kitchen table, and literally he would hop from one chair to the next. When he would start to mentally shut down on one subject, we'd get him fired up again, take a mental break, and work on something new. And so again, there's lots of strategies and lots of tips. The best thing I can recommend is that you don't have to do this alone. I wouldn't be here 9 years later if it wasn't for the connections that I had made. And so I would encourage you to definitely reach out and let us support you every step of the way. We can help echo a lot of the things that you would say at home if you feel like your students aren't listening to you. Sometimes just having someone else say the exact same thing, even though it's the exact same thing, it makes a difference. So tag teaming it and working together can really, as I say, help us set us up for success.
So many families, I can give several examples in last year that, I know that the parents were saying the same thing, but when I would, talk with the student, it just coming from a different place and a different person, it changes the dynamic. So I'm great. I'm so glad you brought up that point. And that's even, with my own children, that's family, right? And that's why it is so important to be in touch with the staff, the advisors, the teachers, the counselors, and they can help you, if you're stuck in an area. We will also make this template of the daily 8 which is fabulous. I love it. We'll make that available to parents as well in the Learning Coach Resource Center. But I also know one thing that I thought was super cool that you did was putting the daily 8, once they had their list, and putting it on a sticky note. And when they finished that sticky note, they got to shoot it. I don't know, I'm just such a visual, like hands-on person. I think that's so fun.
That's also really good if you've got, like multiples, so that you can get that little bit of competition going between the siblings. So literally, they would figure out what they wanted to work on, and they would write it on the Post-it note. And then when they were completed with it, we would, they could crumple it up, they could make it into a paper airplane, whatever they wanted to do. And then it would go whoosh into what we called the bin of wins. And we would look to see how many slips of paper we had collected at the end of the day. And of course, we'd be looking to see, well, how many did so-and-so have? And compared to the other, child or student that we were working on this with. And then, I would challenge my kiddos, well, we got so many this day, let's see if we can't beat this record for tomorrow. And then next thing you knew, at the end of the week, I had what looked like something that had gone through the shredder. It was just lots of slips to celebrate, and it was certainly very rewarding. And again, if our families want to participate in this in the Daily 8 contest, this is something that we do through VAVA's Best. It's a weekly challenge. So if you ever want to fill out that sheet and then email it to me directly, it goes into a contest drawing for each of the grade level bands. So I pull a contest winner each week for each grade level, so K through 2, 3 to 5, middle school and high school, and I send them a gift card for their effort. So this is something that you can definitely do at the very beginning of the school year and use all throughout the school year to stay on track, and then give me the opportunity to spoil and reward your student for taking that extra step with me to be their best.
I think that's great, creating that classroom culture, creating that school spirit culture still, even though you are, schooling at home. It's still, the culture is there. You just have to reach out and tap into it. I love it. So fun. Okay, we're going to move on. We don't want to, make the video too long. We love to talk about these things though, but this is our last slide, and it kind of goes right into making that community connection and team mentality. And I don't know what mommy mental moments are, but this is going to be good because I know what mine are.
I often refer to those moments when I would question my sanity and my sacrifice as mommy mental moments. And when I was supporting families, I would tell them, you are not alone if you find yourself having those moments when you just feel like you're at a breaking point. It's sometimes hard. It is certainly challenging having your children at home with you. But again, just to remind you, you do not have to do this by yourself. And it certainly helps having people who have gone through that same situation, who walk and work in those same daily trenches that you are in, that can help support you for those mommy mental moments. I don't want you to think that if you question yourself and that decision, that there's anything wrong with you. If anything, you are definitely part of the VAVA family, because we all have those doubts and those questions at times. I don't know if you personally have dealt with negative voices within your own family, especially when you make this choice to school at home and put your children in a public school program. But again, that commitment to have them at home, that choice, not everybody understands it and not everybody supports it. And some people are very vocal as they fight you and try to, combat those efforts that you might be taking. I know personally, I definitely had that going on in my own family. And so again, I would invite and encourage you to find your best support station and tune into that solid encouragement, tune out those negative voices. They're not going to understand because they don't know what it's like. They're not in those same shoes. They don't see it from that side and that perspective. So don't let them discourage you in any way. There are so many people that love this kind of a program and this opportunity and this choice for their family. It works for a lot of us. So tap into those as your best resource.
That's such good advice, because you might have naysayers, or they just don't understand, or they don't have your same philosophy or goal or whatever it may be. But there are plenty of VAVA families that do. So reach out. Love it. take charge of the remote and create opportunity at home. So yeah, I was going to ask you, I know that you guys did not school or, I guess do school in the same spot every day. So how did you get creative at home with that?
Well, again, I would invite families to see this as an opportunity in the making and to really make the most of their opportunity. Also, to remind yourself that that you're not only the learning coach, but you're also the parent, and your children, in a battle of wills, they might assert themselves, and they might try to push your buttons to prevent school from being able to happen. And that's why I say take charge of the remote. Don't let them see if they're pushing your buttons. Don't let them get the upper hand or decide if we're going to do school today. As far as I was concerned, it wasn't their choice. Once the family made the choice to be in a program like this, we all committed to this, and doing our daily activities was part of that commitment. It wasn't a choice unless, there was a circumstance like, obviously if we've got appointments or if they're ill, or, even just like the freedom and flexibility, like if we've got family visiting and we want to take time, we would always try to earn that time off by being ahead of the game so that we didn't have to take it off with any kind of guilt or concern that we'd have to make it up. We would definitely try to make sure that we could factor all of that in. But my youngest wanted to always, push those boundaries and see if he couldn't make school not happen at his will and whim. And as I say, if you're having those mommy mental moments, you just want to make sure that you're not having them in front of your student. Go lock yourself into the bathroom, reach out to someone like myself and tell us what's happening so that we can encourage and support you and uplift you. But don't let them know that they're getting the upper hand. That's half the battle. It's just knowing that they see you as that parent role and not someone that they can manipulate.
Yeah. Setting that tone every day. Like, this is what we do. This is our work time. Yeah. You have to set that tone every day and set the expectations. That is so true. And when you talk about, rearranging the schedule or taking time off, you have to, and then making sure you make that time up, you have to make sure that, if a student does fall behind, it is very hard to play catch up. And many of the students that I worked with last year that struggled, once they got behind, it was just, we call it a snowball effect where, the assignments just create a huge snowball, and they can't catch up. So it is very important. You are the maintainer of the family schedule and the school schedule. Set the tone, make sure it's happening. If you have to miss time on working on schoolwork, make sure you put it back in. So that's very valuable advice. And when you say go to the bathroom or, go to your closet, call, that's what we're here for. Advisors, teachers, anyone can help you walk through those moments of, that struggle and frustration. So that's great advice. I'm glad you brought that up. Taking charge of the remote. Don't let them push the buttons. You push the buttons. That's good. I like it.
And there are going to be often times where, your students are going to say school isn't fun. It's not our job to make it fun. It's our job to create an opportunity for our family and show them that their attitude makes the difference into whether or not that day is going to be awesome or it's going to be one of those days that they dread. I mean, it really, again, we all have jobs that we have to do. I should have put in there my cereal challenge. But it's like we all have jobs that we have to do, and how we approach that job really does matter. I always tell my kids, don't give me cereal for effort. Don't give me the absolute bare minimum. So again, I always encourage them to reach beyond that. In the Cheerio challenge, you've got 4 choices. Typically who makes dinner at your house, and what's your favorite that they might make, and how often do they make that for you? And of course, at my house, one of my jobs was to make dinner. And I could do the absolute bare minimum, which means I could put a box of cereal on the table. If it's dinner time and it's food, hey, it qualifies, that's dinner. but that's doing the absolute bare minimum. And it's okay to have a day like that every now and again, but you don't want to make that the habit. You don't want that to become the
Right.
norm. No one wants to face soggy cereal for supper 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Then there might be the opportunity that, you know, I order in takeout, where I try to get someone else to do the job for me. And students love to try to get someone else to do their work for them.
Yeah.
But then you don't get any of the credit, and you're going to sacrifice something, and it's going to come at a personal cost. So again, that's not always the best alternative. You can certainly make an effort, in which case you will reap those rewards, because what you put into it, you will certainly get out of it. Or you could make it into a gift, and that's where that family favorite comes in. I can make my family for dinner something that I know that is a family favorite, and instead of just making dinner and doing my job, now I've turned it into an opportunity for us to have a gift. I've given them a personal gift because I know that they enjoy this.
Yeah.
And I tell my kiddos all the time, when you give someone a gift, what is typically their response? Well, they're happy, they're thankful. And how does it make you feel when you see that reaction? So then I tell my kids, what are you dishing out daily to yourself, to your learning coach, to your teachers, to your classmates? Because if it's not your best, or if it's not a personal gift, then how can we change that to make it become so?
Wow, that's so good. Such a good perspective. That is awesome.
So don't get me eat cereal for effort, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, cereal once a month, maybe. Is that pretty good? Twice a month.
We all have our days. And
All
again,
our
mom's going to have her day too, where, you know, sometimes the best you can do is put that
Yeah.
cereal, and don't feel guilty, but don't let it become the habit.
Norm, right? Because then the seeds of bad habits set in, and that's when you start getting behind and things fall, go off track. So good. Walking the walk with confidence and choice. And you talked about, your choices matter and the attitude. So if you want to explore that a little bit with the confidence.
So one of the things that I especially love and appreciate about VAVA is we do so much to ensure that our families start our program strong. I always like to say start and stay strong all year long. We offer sessions to help navigate the online school. We have orientation sessions, information sessions. We have connections that we try to make. We've got lots of people that would be reaching out to help you gain that confidence and confirm the choice that you're making, so that you know that you can look forward to a stellar year with us. And, just being able to participate and glean as much as you can from those opportunities will give you that advantage to walk the walk and be confident that you know everything that you need to know, and also when you should know it. Too often, and I'm guilty of this, I complicate things when I don't need to. And I get anxious, I get nervous, I start to panic about things, and I build things up to that Mount Everest. And you know what, if I just kept my perspective and I just kind of toned it down and kept it simple, it would be an anthill that I have to step over instead of this Mount Everest that I need to scale. And so I know there are lots of questions when you come into the program. I know I had a lot of those questions too. And I know also that there's something to be said about not getting too overwhelmed with too much information all at the beginning. I know, like, when you first come into the program, if you're at the back to school event and you're thinking about SOLs, SOL information is not going to come out until after that first semester.
Yeah,
Don't borrow that unnecessary trouble and anxiety and stress about something that your teachers will be, communicating to you and setting up for you and walking you through it almost like a hand-in-hand approach when the appropriate time comes, when you need it most. And if you just, as I say, walk with us, I think you'll find that the experience and the transition won't be nearly as scary, because again, our whole focus and our whole purpose and passion is that you do not have to do this alone, and we want to walk with you. You're enrolled in a public school, so you have lots of people here that are here to support you. So don't choose to do this by yourself.
Yeah. So true. And just speaking of communication, email, is a great form of communication and what we use most. But we can get on phone calls. We can get on these Zoom calls. I do video chats with students. I do Zoom calls with students and their learning coaches. You know, we have so many forms of communication. We text, you know, even information with parents at times, you know, so there is, you know, no, you know, any way that you want to communicate, just communicate, right? And reach out when you know, have those questions. And make the most of our VAVA Cares community, which I think, you know, you did touch on at the beginning, and embrace engagement for your best experience. BEST, remind me exactly what BEST, the letters stand for?
So BEST is Blended Experience Schooling Together. And again, it's just to invite families to be a part of our community efforts to make sure that our students get both a social and academic support for their educational experience. And of course, we offer as a school, and I know personally, I come up with a lot of different options and opportunities for families to be able to share with their kiddos, to get them engaged throughout the school year, to help with that, you know, can school be fun? Can I connect? Where's my school spirit on, you know, on what level is it at? Because again, we don't want them to be at home alone and not enjoying the experience that we have to offer. We really want this, you know, to invest their time and not just spend it. We want them to make it an amazing school year together, and engagement really comes into place. And when you've got those options, and everything that we offer is optional when it comes to our engagement, but if you've got those opportunities, I just encourage families to make the most of them, because if you don't want to have to do all of that work on your end as the learning coach, trying to keep your kiddo motivated, on task, doing their school, and not have to fight with them about school or whether or not they want to go back to a brick and mortar because they're feeling lonely, then definitely let us help you with that engagement, because we really can be your best advocates.
Yes, so many students struggle when they first transition to the online learning. They will struggle with the isolation they feel, and that is so important to embrace that engagement, take advantage of the opportunities. You know, they will connect with other VAVA students as well, organically in their own way, you know, form those group chats and small group study sessions. You know, we have student leaders program that does some mentoring as well with students. So just take advantage of the opportunities. Don't, you know, no man is an island, you know, the saying goes, no student is an island. You know, they need that engagement for sure. So take advantage of all the things, you know, that we do offer. And that brings us to our last slide, and it's just communication. If you have more questions, this is my information, and then this is Carrie's information as well. I'll give you a second if you want to jot that down. But, you know, in a virtual environment, online learning environment, we talk about this with the students and student videos as well. You have to almost over communicate. You know, it's harder sometimes to sit behind the computer screen, and you know, you do feel that isolation sometimes. So you have to over communicate, and you know, just really reach out and go above and beyond, because people are not talking to you, you know, normally face to face, and can read your body language. You know, it's not, there's not a building where you can walk into, you know, and talk to someone. But like I said, there are always ways to communicate. Just reach out for that help, you know, or any questions that you might have. Carrie, thank you so much for being here. We certainly appreciate all of the wisdom that you imparted today. Be on the lookout. We're going to have some more videos coming at, or not coming at you, but made available for you. And they're going to be more real talk videos on actually navigating in the OMHS from a student perspective and a learning coach perspective. Those will be technical how-tos. We're also going to have a short video on the, you know, specific ways that you can socially connect as well. So tune in for more real talk sessions, and we thank you for your time. Bye.
Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you.